Good evening. You are connected to The Next Word. I'm your host, Chris Warnke. And tonight we're going to hear from an author, a playwright, an attorney, and a theater critic. His name is Tim Treanor. He's currently co-author of Capital City and just came out on the stands.
Thank you so much, Chris, and I'm
Tim,
delighted to be
you're
here.
everything.
No.
Did I miss something? Did I leave something out?
No, you got the whole deal.
I got the whole deal, okay. I know there's more. And you live in a log cabin, which
I
I'm
do.
impressed about.
I do. I will tell you that you can buy these log homes in a kit. And if you're ambitious, you can put them together yourself.
Well,
I'm not ambitious. Somebody else built it. But that's something you can do if you have a mind to.
So you chose a log cabin in southern Maryland. Right?
Yeah.
The scenery must be spectacular.
Every morning I get up and there's horses next door. It's like living on the set of Bonanza. And I'll go out on, there's a little deck, I go out on the deck, and deer wander into the yard. We've had foxes, we've had eagles flying overhead, and something happened last summer. We had a clutch of vultures. A deer died on the lawn, and this whole congregation of vultures decided to roost. And we have a little shed out in the back. They decided to roost on the shed and feast on the deer and give birth. Because a vulture that give birth laid 2 eggs, and so tiny little vultures hatched in the shed.
In your shed.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because, I mean, I don't know people actually that live in log cabins.
Life in the country.
Life in the country.
Yeah.
But you live in this, you work in the city, and you drive out to the country and back, of course, back and forth there every day.
I do. Or nearly every day.
Nearly every day.
Occasionally I'll work at home, but not often.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but why? And you chose southern Maryland, which is beautiful.
And you say, why did I make that choice? And part of it is money, to be honest with you.
Right.
When I moved to D.C. about 20 years ago, housing prices were outrageous.
They still are.
They still are. And they're more outrageous, but they're always about twice as much as you can afford, no matter what you're making,
right.
No matter what the year is. And my dear bride, having agreed to come to Chicago, her beloved Chicago, with me, always wanted to live in a country place. So I asked her to go find one, and she found this one.
Oh, I love it.
And it took me about 5 minutes to decide that that's where I wanted to live.
However, the commute, though, Tim, I mean,
commute is somewhere between 70 and 90 minutes each way, each day. And that's not the worst thing in the world.
No.
I can spend it thinking about what I'm writing. I can spend it editing what I've written. And most of all, I can spend it fantasizing that my writing has won plaudits across the world and I'm going to get something nice from the King of Sweden.
Oh, I love that. So, speaking of writing, what you have one of your great jobs. It's a theater critic. It's a DC theater scene.
That's right, dctheaterscene.com, an online, I say at this point I can say it's an online institution. It's been going since 2006, and there have been over 7,500 reviews and articles.
Wow.
DC Theater Scene sees all the professional theater in the DC area, up to Frederick, and sees shows in Baltimore as well. It's really an extraordinary enterprise. There's about 22 professional writers.
22?
Some of them,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
Some of them.
Contributors and critics?
Yeah. Mostly critics. We have some very good, very somewhat well-known critics. Jane Blanchard, who for many years was critic for the Times, works for DC Theater Scene. Trey Graham, who's written for City Paper, writes for us on occasion. I've written about 630 reviews and some other articles as well. This is a pleasure which never gets old. See,
that's a nice way to put it.
It really is that way. These are folks who honor great writing by inhabiting it. It's one of the most unselfish acts that you'll see in public life, because these actors will become the characters. They'll cast themselves off and devote their being to personifying this great writing. Some actor might be very shy, even deeply religious, but she'll appear on stage and swear up a storm and act aggressive and rude because that's what that writer called for. Then somebody may have it within himself to be very generous of spirit and liberal of thought. But if he needs to be a racist or a bigot, he'll be the most hateful one that you can imagine. And not only that, he'll do it with empathy towards the terrible character that he's embodying. He makes us understand the art that went into writing the play, and it's just astonishing to watch.
And there's so many theaters now in the whole metropolitan Maryland area. Do you go frequently? I mean, is it pretty much a weekend every weekend?
I would say I see about 70 shows a year.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't review them all, but some I go as a civilian because it's fun. Because I like to do it. And we have writers who see more than that. We have a critic who operates out of New York City, a fellow by the name of Jonathan Mandel. And
yes, I think I know him.
Yeah, and he sees, I would say, about 120 shows a year.
But he's in New York.
Yeah, he's in New York.
So he reviews shows here?
No, he reviews shows in New York.
Okay.
Because many people
I see.
here in D.C. go up.
So actually the theater scene is a national.
No, I wouldn't go that far. Our scene is primarily in the D.C. area. But we do have a writer from New York. Because New York is...
New York is New York.
Yeah.
Right.
That's well put.
Right. But the theater, I mean, we've seen so many theater companies in the last 10 years, 15 years. And it just continues.
Yeah, part of the...
Because the demand is there.
The supply is there.
Right.
And sometimes supply creates demand.
Right.
We have these great theater factories at Catholic University and elsewhere turning out MFAs by the hundreds.
Really?
Yeah. And in many instances, the only way that they can do the work that they want to do is by forming their own companies. So we have a constant supply of new companies.
It's hard. It's hard to start a theater. I mean,
it's hard to sustain theater.
Exactly.
Every aspect of theater is hard.
Every aspect, yeah. It's very hard. I was on the board of the new Playwrights Theater. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yes.
And it doesn't exist today.
No.
I guess there's so much more. In fact, there's playwrights are in every corner of the city. Mm-hmm. They've come up with new material and new.
Yes.
It's very hard to sustain a theater.
It is. An actor's career is a very difficult one.
Yeah,
one of the best actors in Washington is Rick Fouchot, who's an equity actor and gets a lot of work. I remember he had an interview with Peter Marks of the Washington Post about 10 years ago, and he told Peter that he made about the same amount of money as an entry-level high school English teacher. Now, I don't know if that's still true. That was a while ago, but he was a very much in demand actor back then. It's very, very hard to sustain yourself in the theater without some other source of income.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Shakespeare. You have the Shakespeare Theater, and then you have so many great houses now.
Yes.
Theater houses. I mean,
a couple of very major houses, well supported by their community and by donations. Arena, Shakespeare, studio theaters, well supported. Right. At this point, so is Woolly Mammoth. These are big time theaters who I think can compete with theaters in New York.
Because they have the support of the community. You really need the
unquestioned,
the local,
unquestioned support.
Right, you really do need that to sustain because it's incredibly costly. I mean, you think about everything that goes into it, but I mean the local and you think 25 years ago, what you had a couple of theaters, a handful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today, we have really outstanding productions. I mean, the Signature Theater and the Woolly Mammoth and Studio, and you said you're right, Arena. I mean, Arena's fab.
Yes, and I would not sell small theaters short. One of my favorite theaters is Forum in Silver Strait.
Yes, I've heard them. Yes, it's great. Yes.
They put on some tremendous productions. They put on an absolutely wonderful Angels in America about 5 years ago. And they periodically put on what I think is at least my favorite play of the 21st century, The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. They do wonderful work. There's other small theaters that don't cost all that much, but put on great work. I'm thinking of Constellation, which is over at the Source Theater, and WSC Avant Bard, which is out in Arlington.
Okay. And here in Maryland, you have,
of course, Roundhouse.
Roundhouse, which is
well
known.
Yeah, and really a superb house.
Right.
Wonderful productions. You have Olney a little further to the north, and I like what Olney is doing because right now they're putting on 3 tracks of plays. They're putting on a series of new plays. They're putting on essentially big budget musicals, and they're putting on traditional plays. And so if you're an Olney subscriber, you can pick one of those streams, or if you're in the constituency, if you go to Olney, you know that during the season there's going to be a play in the subject area that you like. So that is a very good theater in Maryland, and smart management, I think.
Well, it takes smart. So you go periodically. You go 70 plays a year. That's a lot.
Well, I wouldn't do it if I
wish I
didn't
had your
enjoy
job.
Don't say that.
Like
my
fun.
Editor is within earshot.
Right,
She may dragoon you with.
That's right. She may. Oh, that's great. We are going to, unfortunately, take a short break. Then we're going to come back and talk about your other side, of course, which you're writing for, in terms of the books you've written and the plays you've written.
Yeah.
But also, I want to hear about time when you were an attorney in a modeling agency in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, everybody should.
We can't miss that.
Yeah.
I really want to hear about that. So we're going to come right back.
Very good.
Okay. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Warnke of The Next Word, and tonight we have Tim Treanor, author, playwright, attorney, theater critic, but here to talk about his new book, Capital City. Boy, I had to say it all in one sentence.
You said it beautifully, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
Tim.
very persuasively.
So I could talk for hours about your theater critic life.
It's fun. I can come back.
You can come back. But when I read your bio, and I was trying, talked about the fact that you were an attorney in a modeling agency in Buffalo, New York.
Yes, I spent the first 15 years or so of my legal career in Buffalo, which is where I grew up.
All right.
I had a job as the general counsel to a private industry council. These things no longer exist, but the idea was that it was an institution that was going to train folks who were being displaced from dying industries into new and growing jobs. And I did that for a while, and then the political landscape changed, and they dissolved our private industry council. So I was on my own, and I was scrambling for clients. And I had one client, which was a modeling agency, and they wanted me to handle a number of pieces of litigation that they had, and they were a little short of cash, so they said, "Look, we've got office space. Why don't, in return for a certain amount of work, you take a space in the office and meet your clients there," and so on and so forth.
Well, that's an interesting space to meet clients.
Yeah, well, it was kind of, and I'll tell you a specific incident where frankly it went horribly, horribly wrong.
Uh-oh.
I was about to meet new clients who had been recommended to me, and I to them, by an old associate in the private industry council. And I mentioned that to the fellow who ran the modeling agency, and he said, "Well, you know, your office isn't really adequate for that. Why don't you use my office?" Which was an enormous office with big plate glass windows and freestanding closets and a French desk and so on and so forth. And so, of course, I agreed. And there was one particular closet that opened up into a whiteboard, which I kept that in mind when these folks came in. They had some sort of complicated corporate arrangement that they wanted to bring into being. And I got an idea about how to do it. So I said, "Come over here to this closet and let me draw this out on the whiteboard." It was the wrong closet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it was full of women's underwear. And as I opened it up, I could see the shock go through these two very conservative gentlemen. And they looked at each other. And they didn't walk out, but they didn't say much after that.
Right.
I eventually found the whiteboard, but that was...
Too late?
Yeah. I don't know what they thought of me. I don't
Did you
think
get the client? So you never got the client?
Oh, my dear God, I never heard from them again.
After that?
They didn't answer their phones or anything.
So this was the CEO of the modeling agency?
Yes.
Had underwear in his closet?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was for his models.
With models?
Yeah. I mean, it was part of his business.
Right.
There was nothing odd or sketchy about it.
Right,
it was just, I had gone to the wrong closet.
I love it. And so how long, what happened to your career after that?
Well,
it still survived.
It did. A kind of an odd thing. Well, I don't know if I should tell you the story. I will just say that I ended up in Chicago getting an offer from somebody who went to the same law school as I did and was working for the federal government. He invited me to apply for a vacancy as his assistant. And I did, and I got the job. And since things were not looking up in Buffalo or at the modeling agency or anywhere else, I decided to take him up on it. And I went over to Chicago and joined the federal government as an assistant regional counsel, and then eventually came to Washington to work my wares here.
And how long have you been here?
I came here in the summer of 1995.
Oh, wow. So 20 years.
Yeah.
So, and since you've been here, of course, you've written about Washington in a capital city, your recent book. You've written plays. I know you're going to be writing more other books. You have other books in mind.
That is very true.
But a capital city is coming. It just came out.
Yes, let me talk to you about that because it came about as kind of an unusual way. I went to a conference of the Washington Independent Writers. I was trying to find an agent for something I had written, and as I was getting ready to leave, another fella stepped into the elevator and literally gave me an elevator speech about his book. And it sounded kind of intriguing. And he said he was looking for a collaborator. I didn't know if I wanted to do that because I had my own obsessions, of course. But as I walked out, he said, you know, I have an agent.
Oh,
and for a writer, that makes all the difference in the world.
Word.
Yeah. So I collaborated with Lee about this novel, and Lee was a dream to work with. He had a first draft. It needed some work. He was without ego. I would make a suggestion. He would evaluate it. He was all about what's best for the book. And we worked on it together for a year, and we came out with a product we thought we'd be pleased to have our names associated with. And then Diane worked on marketing it, and so did Lee. I kind of forgot about the project. But Lee and Diane continued to work on it.
And Diane Nine, your
the fabulous Diane Nine,
right,
my agent.
The fabulous agent.
Continued to work on it for 10 years.
10 years?
10 years. The persistence amazed me. Yeah.
Wow.
And we found a publisher, Astor and Blue. Astor and Blue has been bought up by a British house, the House of Stratus. And as a result, you can find out how much our book costs in pounds.
Oh, I love it.
In euros. But it was a fun thing to write. It has a sinister mayor, a victim who is not a victim, a lunatic hitman obsessed with Michael Dukakis.
Oh,
and
this was in the 80s, yeah.
Yes, it's set in 1988. Yeah. And an angry cop who is in love.
Wow.
A woman in the mayor's office witnesses a crime. And so startled by this crime, which is a murder, she bursts out of the office, and the cop who actually shot the victim goes after her. The mayor commissions him to go after her.
Because she had witnessed the
Because she's a witness. He gives her the charge that Aaron the Moor gave in Titus Andronicus. When 2 are away, one may keep counsel, and then the stage directions, he kills her. And that was the direction that this sinister mayor gives to the cop, and the cop goes out, and instead of killing her, he falls in love with her. And now they have a horrible dilemma. How can he satisfy his boss, the mayor, without damaging his love,
right,
who is fully aware of what's going on and is prepared to take advantage of it. In the meantime, the mayor, realizing his mistake, orders the services of a hitman. In a movie, I see him played by Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
You know, kind of just a little off center, and he loves his work, and also he's obsessed with Michael Dukakis, and he has various other things that he gets wound up about. So just kind of put these people in the pot and let them boil, let them stew together, and wild things happen, and that's what the story is. These wild things happening.
So it was a labor. I mean, it was a long labor of love, but
yeah,
a successful one.
I can't say enough about my co-author Lee Hurwitz.
Yeah.
This guy determined what he was going to do, and would not accept an obstacle.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's just a joy to work with him.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly the writing life, which as you know is full of challenges and, well, frankly, full of misery as well.
Right.
To the weak of heart, there is no future.
But I don't have why do I not think that you're weak of heart? I don't think that.
Well, good. Because persistence
is everything.
A powerful requirement. Yeah.
Right. Persistence is everything.
Persistence is everything. Yeah.
So now, are you going to be at the National Press Club book event, or did that occur?
No, I won't be at the National Press Club. I have applied to the Virginia Festival of Books, and I haven't heard back, but I'm hoping that we'll be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're quite busy.
The
Between your day job as an attorney for the federal government and you're going around watching wonderful theater.
Mm-hmm.
God, I mean, that in itself is a full-time job.
But you know what? Why not? Why not be busy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know that old Al Yankovic song, I believe in. I'll have time to be mellow when I'm dead.
That's right. Or no, I can sleep when I'm dead.
Yes, I can sleep when I'm dead.
Right?
Yeah.
That's who said Quincy Jones said that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, Quincy, why? You go everywhere. You're here, you're there, you're all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So Quincy said, I can sleep when I'm dead.
Yes.
So that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
So that's now I know you've done some other playwright material.
In the 2014 Fringe,
Right.
some very fine actors staged a play of mine called Dracula, a Love Story. The thing about...
And Dracula did have, he had a love. He had a lot of love.
What
one
Dracula
love.
had was powerful emotion.
Right.
What he had was a sense of absorption, that if you loved Dracula, you became part of him. And that actually has a religious aspect to it.
It does.
You know, that this may sound a little blasphemous, but there are only two people who said that if you drink my blood, you will live forever. And Dracula was one of them.
Wow. What is this?
But it's the same sort of desire that we have when we seek to become part of something larger than ourselves.
Right.
That's the seduction of Dracula.
And there was just the seduction of. He was seductive.
Yes.
He is seductive.
We modernized the setting.
Right.
Among other things, Dracula was a lobbyist.
Oh, well, that's a good one.
For an HMO. Well, see, it allowed him to get out at night.
It allowed him to get out at night. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all have to have side.
Yes. So we had some
That's fun.
some laughter and some pain as well. Two extraordinary directors, Chris Henley and Jay Hardy. Wonderful experienced directors affiliated with WSC Avant-Bard, and Lee Ordman, Joe Brack, Carolyn Krashner, Lynn Sharp Spears. Really very fine actors.
Sounds like you're giving maybe a Tony Award acceptance. I don't know, Tim. Maybe.
Yeah, am I in under the time limit?
Yeah, we have to cut.
We're going to have that music start?
Yes, but right, literally. This has been great.
All right.
Thank you, Tim. What a
Thank
pleasure.
you, Chris.
What a delight.
It has
been.
Fun.
This was great. This was fun.
I had fun, too.
Thank you.
Maybe we could do
come
it
back.
again.
Come back.
I'm
I
always
hear
available.
about your next book, which I know you're already thinking about. So.
Yeah.
All right.
I will. I will certainly want to come on and talk about that when that's in
Please.
print.
Always welcome.
Yeah, I'd
Thank
love
you.
to come back and talk about theater or pretty much anything that you'd be interested in.
It's great.
hearing.
You're an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you've been watching The Next Word. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.